everybody, and this is episode 14 of Fight the Patriarchy. I know we've been doing some heavy stuff for the last 3 episodes, so today we are actually just gonna suck it up and do Star Trek 5. We are going to hate watch this travesty of a movie, and we are going to share our
really
insight.
depressing and look at this movie.
We're going to share that with you, because we all needed a break. The rest of the world's going down in flames, so we might as well all go to Nimbus 3. So once again, I have my fantastic panel. I've got William Wofford, Eris Permore, and Rachel Arnold. So yeah, let's get into it and roll that beautiful bean footage. All right. Fair warning, Liam would like you all to know that intro is better than Final Frontier. And he's
Does anyone disagree?
No. Was that a trick question?
No.
I mean, to be fair, Eris is apparently on the cusp of divorce because of this movie, because she showed her wife.
Did she love it?
No. I am deep in the I made you watch a horrible movie with me depth right now.
So you owe her.
Yes.
Again. I told her, I was like, wait a minute, did you not notice the list of commentary, the writing commentary I had on Facebook that day? Nope. Okay, that's on you.
Oh, quick thing. Shout out to the whole channel. We got 100 subscribers.
Wow!
Yeah, we did. I just heard early this morning. I don't know who those last 3 were, but thank you. We must be doing something right. We got 3 digits.
Go us. So yes, we're super excited for you guys. So all right, Star Trek 5. I guess I will fall on this sword.
I'll ride with you. Here we go.
So Star Trek 5 is the story of budget Vulcan Jesus. I mean,
Wait a minute. I gotta find it. Here it is. I mean, I just can't.
It is not sheer fucking hubris to call him budget Vulcan Jesus. I mean, he's literally what would happen if you ordered Vulcan Jesus from Wish.
Yeah.
That's a thing.
Vulcan Jesus from Wish.
So budget Vulcan Jesus gets a vision from God, and it's Star Trek, so you already know this is a problem when God is invoked. So he gets a vision from God, and he decides that he's going to kidnap the 3 representatives from the Romulan Empire, the Klingon Empire, and the Federation on the planet of Galactic Peace, which is a shitty little backwater planet that looks remarkably like Tatooine. But we're going to get to that in a minute.
Yeah.
So he kidnaps them. And that means that the Federation has to deploy a starship. And what they do, weirdly, is they deploy a very broken Enterprise B, I think.
It's A. It's A.
Is it A?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's A. Fair enough. you know, like there was a lot of bourbon in this rewatch, guys. Like, I'm not gonna lie, because it was
really
necessary to get through. So anyway, so Budget Vulcan Jesus like takes this, and the Federation deploys a very broken Enterprise A with because James T. Kirk is the only experienced captain in the area. Yep, that was the rationale right there. So they do that, and like Kirk and his buddies go down to the planet, and they attempt to rescue these people. And as part of that, we get an amazingly infamous fan dance.
Oh, wait.
Oh no, you didn't. No, you did. You did.
It's actually my favorite part of the film. So,
I mean, yes, but you have a thing for Nichelle Nichols.
Has Nichelle Nichols ever talked about this scene?
she
To my
never.
knowledge,
She,
no.
she the only thing what was said was she didn't actually sing. That was someone else, and that kind of ruined the scene for me. But as a child, this was my favorite scene because it was the closest thing to Nichelle having her own scene in all 6 films.
Valid.
Fair.
Valid. So anyway, they get in, they try to take, they get to the point where they're on the cusp of rescuing the hostages, and it turns out the hostages have decided to throw in their lot with Budget Vulcan Jesus. And like Budget Vulcan Jesus and the hostages take Kirk and his landing party hostage. They go back on board the Enterprise, and there's a remarkable crash landing because, of course, during all of this, there is a random like Axe body spray Klingon that is in the process
And
of
he has the most. I'm so sorry, Marie. He has the most typical name I have ever heard a Klingon have.
I know, Captain Claw.
Captain Claw.
Right?
I'm
It's
looking
terrible.
for him. I hate myself right now. I'm looking for him. Here he is. He's just Captain Claw. And then he has a Spanish accent.
For reasons that nobody understands.
Captain
So
Claw.
yes,
And the
so like Axe body spray Klingon is like, I must prove that my schlong is bigger than yours by killing Captain Kirk. And we're all like, all right, fine. So he is now stalking this broken down Enterprise through the galaxy. But that necessitates like a crash landing of the shuttle. I think it's Copernicus. No, that was the Galileo. So the Galileo crashes into the Enterprise again. And there's a moment where everybody's kind of unconscious, and then Kirk and Spock wake up first. And so, Kirk grabs a weapon, and there's this scuffle, and like Spock ends up facing down Budget Vulcan Jesus, and he doesn't fire, despite the fact that Kirk is in the background screaming, "Kill him!" He doesn't. And that ends up with Kirk, Spock, and McCoy in the brig, and they're sitting there, and Kirk is like, "What are you doing?" And Spock's like, "I cannot kill my brother." And he's like, "I know he's a Vulcan, but..." And he's like, no, you don't understand. He's my half-brother. Like, apparently, Sarek diddled a Vulcan princess at one point, and it didn't go well for him. But, upon her death, Sybok, that's Budget Vulcan Jesus, came to live with Spock, and they're actually, like, brothers. And so everybody's like, okay, that's weird. Scotty blows them out of the brig. They attempt to radio the Federation. That doesn't work because Sybok's like, basically the Klingons over here are like, yeah, we're going to intercept this and pretend to be the Federation because, like Axe body spray Klingon desperately needs to blow shit up. And that needs to be you. And here we are, right here. God love him. God love him. Anyway. That's when Sybok reveals his grand plan, which is he has had a vision from God, and God wants him to come to the Galactic Center and rescue him. And everybody's just like, okay, no one's ever gone through the Galactic Center. We're all going to die. And Sybok's like, yeah, YOLO. And they go through and they get onto this barren rock, and everybody's just like, okay, everything's vaguely purple. So clearly that means this is heaven. Also, like, as an aside, like, as far as like a Vulcan heaven goes, like a desert sort of makes sense. So fair play to Shatner on that one. Anyway, and they walk up to this, this formation of standing stones that appears out of nowhere, and like this old white dude floating head shows up and is basically like, do you have a starship? I need a starship. I can use the starship to disseminate my wisdom. And Kirk's like, well, hold up, bro. Hold up, bro. He's like, I'm gonna need to know, what does God need with a starship? And God is like, I need a starship, so clearly you're going to give it to me. And everybody's like, no. And then God, like, force lightnings Shatner and Nimoy.
Laser eyes, Shatner.
Because he doesn't have hands. But that's really the only reason it's not force lightning, because so much of this movie was lifted from Star Wars.
Yeah.
Anyway, and that's when everybody starts to get the idea that maybe this isn't actually God. And then God's like, yeah, I've been imprisoned on this rock. So, like, it's actually like a prison. So Cybok sacrifices himself, you know, fulfilling his role as budget Vulcan Jesus. And everybody runs.
Okay, everybody runs does not do the awfulness ending of this movie.
We're going to get there. But this is the opening summary, okay? So they run. Kirk like has Scotty beam up because remember the Enterprise doesn't work. So we can only get 2 people, not 1, not all 3. So Kirk is like, everybody beam up like Spock and McCoy, and then I'll stay here and die. Is kind of like what that was going to go, and that would have been like a great ending, but that's not what we got. So Kirk is like, oh God, I'm gonna get like this fake God is gonna fry my ass. And all of a sudden a bird of like the Klingon bird of prey decloaks and, you know, uses its photon torpedoes to explode God and beams Kirk back up. And it turns out that, you know, Spock had strong-armed General Cord into intimidating Axe body spray Klingon, into behaving and not being a jerk. And Spock was the one who blew up God because, you know, Spock. and that's when we end the movie, right? We have like this great reception aboard like the ailing Enterprise A. And everybody's just kind of drinking or whatever and talking about like, do we really think God exists? Do we not? And that's when Kirk is like, oh yeah, look at this penis hair for a second, guys.
Like, that's not the only woman that hairstyle appears.
It's not because like the Romulan also, like the Romulan from Wish also has penis hair. Here we go.
It took me a while to even remember.
Romulan I have ever seen in my life. Like,
I know she's a Romulan from Wish. That's what it is. Like,
it took me
if you ordered a Romulan from Wish, this is what you would get.
The Romulans hang out at the mall is 80s pop girls.
And then, like, literally the Let's All Go to the Mall song from How I Met Your Mother is playing in my head. So thanks, Eris. So thanks so much. So anyway, that's the conclusion. Basically, Kirk ends it with God is in the human heart. And then they go back to Yosemite and continue camping out. And they're the worst campers on the planet, guys. Like, they're terrible. And that's the end of the movie.
They do a rousing rendition of Row, Row, Row Your Boat.
I
Yes.
really liked it.
The movie or Row, Row, Row Your Boat?
They're edition of Row, Row, Row Your Boat. Because
I was about to say, William, our friendship might be in jeopardy.
Well, okay. Like I said, I have an opinion about the film, but I have to explain it before y'all shoot me, okay?
Oh, so this film is terrible. And there's really nothing else we can say. It's just terrible. It's not even good Star Trek.
No, I was going to say, like, I could have lived my whole life just hearing your recap of the movie and gotten like 3.5 hours of my life back from the 2 times I've watched it. And it would have been a good deal. It would have been a good deal.
I
know, but now you're going to be thinking about budget Vulcan Jesus for the rest of your life, though.
Yes. This might
and the Wish Romulan.
Yes. When I'm thinking about this, thinking back on this, this might have been I remember seeing this when I was a really little kid. And I'm thinking this might have actually been my first exposure to Star Trek. Like,
and yet you came back.
Yeah. If it was, I was so young that I truly don't remember I remembered Rocket Boot Spock, and I remembered the shuttle crashing in the Enterprise, and that's about it.
Yeah, like the awkward bro hug that occurs here is amazing. And of course, like McCoy is just like, I don't want to, I don't need, I don't know.
I mean,
No,
you play
fuck.
this.
And then he's like, we're gonna do this. Literally, you can tell. Like, I mean, Spock is at his pissiest in this movie, I have to say, and that's kind of impressive because Spock is pretty much defined by his pissiness.
I feel like the entire cast, except Shatner, was at their pissiest because none of them wanted to be doing this except Shatner.
Yes. So Star Trek V history. So we all know that Star Trek IV was directed by Leonard Nimoy, and it turns out that Nimoy and Shatner had reciprocal God clauses in their contracts, which basically was, anything you can do, I can do better. Yeah. So, I know nobody's gonna forgive me for that, but like I've had a lot of bourbon because it's Star Trek V. But basically, it was a situation in which if Nimoy got to do something, then Shatner got to do it. And if Shatner got to do something, then Nimoy got to do it. And basically, Nimoy's agreement to continue along in the film franchise after Wrath of Khan was that he got to direct a film. And that ended up being Star Trek IV, Save the Whales. So Star Trek V then necessarily had to be Shatner's oeuvre. And Shatner's fingerprints are everywhere. From like the needlessly macho, I'm gonna free climb El Capitan because I can, to Shatner being the only one who's able to resist Cybok's magic mind powers. I need my pain.
And the horses everywhere.
Yeah, and also right here, triple-breasted cat girls as strippers are in fact canon to Star Trek, guys.
The triple-breasted cat strippers.
Nope.
And raise your hand if you actually believed that William Shatner, the actor, flung the cat girl into the pool of water.
Yeah, I mean, I know cats don't tend to like water, but it's like she hit the water and she instantly drowned.
I know. It was amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah. So, let's talk a little bit about the things that are lifted from Star Trek, or Star Wars, rather. I mentioned that Nimbus 3 looks a lot like Tatooine, and I get some of that makes sense because Nimbus 3 is where it's the planet of galactic peace. It's supposed to be a failed endeavor, blah, blah, blah. And so as a result, it ends up being a desert because they're trying to communicate that this is, in fact, like a rock in the middle of nowhere, and it sucks. So they pick a desert. But, I mean, it ends up feeling like a cross between Tatooine and, like, Mad Max.
That's exactly
honestly.
what I was going to say.
Visually speaking, there's this guy. Then there's this guy. So, all right, Eris, build on the Mad Max illusions here.
Well, so yeah, like it's Tatooine without any of the world building or things that made Tatooine feel like Tatooine. It's just like, oh, hey, here's a desert. This Unitooth here is out digging holes for no reason because that's all he had. And then there's like one settlement that looks an awful lot like the encampment in, which one was it? Mad Max 2 or 3? I forget.
Honestly, any of the above. Because it basically looks like, it's not even large enough. Like it's very obvious.
Compound. Yeah.
It's very obvious that this compound was assembled on the cheap.
Yeah.
Which basically characterizes most of the effects in Star Trek V. Yeah.
And then this Cybok's little ragtag army of not desert mutants with their little steampunk squirt guns or whatever they are. Did
anybody else notice that those sound like blasters?
Especially at the very end.
Yes.
They,
Yes. There's
they literally
that
use blaster noises. from
spitting
Star Wars.
sound.
Yeah.
That sounds very much like blasters. But the other thing that really brought like Tatooine in for me, and very like Return of the Jedi, is when Sybok is walking in under his cowl into this bar. That's very clearly supposed to be like Mos Eisley, like on the cheap.
Mhm.
Also,
Yeah.
Mos Eisley, if you ordered from Wish.
Although apparently this Planet of Galactic Peace does have horses on it. They didn't really.
No. They're not horses. They're not horses. No.
Oh.
They're a native species that has a horn in the center of their forehead. So they're not unicorns.
My God, I was looking to see if they put something on the horses to make them not horses.
They did.
Apparently it was so
Budget
bad, I couldn't
Vulcan
even see it.
Jesus literally rides into the frame on a budget unicorn. and Rachel's whole thing right there, like that's it. That's it right there.
That's all I have. Just
like, who sheer fucking hubris is it, William? Like, I gotta ask you this. Man, we were just running through like Trevor's Delight, old school memes now.
I'm just here.
Like we're 20 minutes in and we're just like, we don't know what we're doing.
what can you do with it? What can you do with it?
There were actually some interesting philosophical and theological things happening in this movie that they don't come together in any meaningful way. It's kind of like just a hot mess thrown at the wall and see what sticks. But
all right, well, Eris, this is why you're here. Tell us about why Budget Vulcan Jesus is wrong.
About why he's what?
He's wrong.
Oh, well, Sybok is both a villain and a protagonist in this.
He's not even an anti-hero.
No, he's not. Definitely not an anti-hero. I mean, he's the villain in that he is a cult leader. He's clearly a cult leader. He uses, in the movie, it's his Vulcan psychic weirdness, because his whole thing is that instead of being a stoic, logical Vulcan, he's super emotional, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and he's tapped into ancient Vulcan mysticism.
Which is why Strange New Worlds casts Sybok as a member of the Vatosh Couture.
Yes. But so, and the way he gets people into his cult is he's basically a sin eater. He goes up to them and his line is, "Tell me your secrets."
No, share your pain.
Share your pain. Share your pain. He goes and you've seen this more times than I have, apparently, for which I salute you. But that's what he does, is he just absorbs people's all people's negativity away from them and gives them this kind of euphoric feeling, which is what a lot of cults in even some mainstream religious movements proclaim to do, is you put your faith and your trust in the leader or the god or whatever they're offering, and it's supposed to alleviate your guilt and take away the burden of trying to navigate your own life from you, and it gives you a path to follow and makes your decisions for you. And if you just surrender to it, it's supposed to be, a happy place to be, because it takes away the burden and the pain and difficulty of humanity, of being a functional human being in a really confusing and difficult world.
All right, so let's talk about the pain for a second. Like, just because we have that image that was there for so long, that image is actually from Sybok's abortive attempt to sway Spock.
Mm-hmm.
And what are we looking at there? Who wants to take that one? Rachel, you haven't talked.
No. Yeah.
I promise, Eris, we're going to get back to you because I know where you're going and I'm excited about it.
I think we should just go back to Eris.
No, because we're saving the best for last. So it's your turn.
Oh wow, no pressure.
Yeah, no pressure at all. No, I've deflected enough. What did you ask me?
So let's talk about the sequences with Bones and Spock that Sybok shares when he comes in. They're in the forward observation lounge, which, by the way, I think is the nicest part of that entire set. Like, let's be real, that was cool. Not that one.
Not that one. The other one.
The one with the big like wheel.
Yeah.
And so Sybok actually ends up showing not only Spock this, which is the story of Spock's birth. I have real thoughts about that, but we're gonna let Rachel talk about it first.
We're talking about the big reveal. Sybok and Spock's half brothership. Brothership is not a word. Half brotherhood. Yes, words. I don't know. I think there was a lot that could have been done there. I think there was a lot that wasn't been done there. I also think, full confession, I've seen this movie twice. Both times were the Rick Trax version. So I have a bit of a skewed perspective on talking about any of the philosophical issues.
I mean, to be fair, like that was the right answer.
No, and because that's how it worked. I didn't become a Trek person until like later in life, and so I'd watched a lot, and I
have failed you as a friend,
and all of my friends were like, "Don't watch this movie, just don't." So I watched the Rich Trax version, which leaves me ill prepared to talk about anything from a legitimate standpoint. But no, I think I don't know. A lot of the movie had a lot of issues, and this scene was one that I thought should have been far more impactful than it was. But again, I watched a Rip Tracks version of it, so maybe that was my problem.
So let's talk about what's actually happening here, right? Like, so this is Sybok showing Spock his birth, Spock's birth, and what happens is they're in a cave. Because apparently that's what Vulcans do, guys. Like one of the most technologically advanced species of the Federation apparently just gives birth to caves.
That's the thing.
Yeah. Well done, chat. Well done.
I mean, at least it's a desert planet, so they aren't trying to do water bursts with dolphins or something like that.
That's something.
Excuse me.
Because if Shatner had thought of it, he would have.
Yeah, I don't need that image in my life ever. So they're giving birth, and one of the things that Sarek's, and like the child is given to Sarek. I mean, it's obviously a pointy-eared baby, and the first thing Sarek says is, "So human."
Basically, like he was low key disowning him. Like low key. He didn't later in life. I mean, okay. Sarek was a shitty father. Like we've established this all the way into TNG. Literally at the moment he died.
Sarek's A+ parenting.
Like
I'm not sure if it's Sarek or Worf that's the worst parent.
I will say Worf is a better parent than Sarek. I will argue that because Worf fucked up one time. Sarek fucked up 3 times.
I'm gonna argue that Worf fucked up a lot.
I am here for this bad Trek parenting trial that we're about to have.
This is its own episode. Like no shit, guys. Like this is its own episode.
Yeah, I was gonna say this definitely falls under FTP as far as parenting goes, because it's like
So anyway, we have Sarek's A+ parenting, and what Sybok's trying to do is
take away that pain that Spock has felt his entire life of being torn between 2 worlds, and particularly of being, ostracized by his Vulcan side. The side that he grew up with and has spent most of his life with, we continually see rejecting him for being, for his human ancestry, for his human heritage. So, and the thing that really struck me is what Sybok is doing, trying to take away people's pain, is not necessarily a bad thing. Like, why do we want, we get this thing later on where Kirk is all, oh, I need my pain. It's what makes me human. And for all the fact that Kirk is being set up as being opposed to the religious figure in the movie, the religious figure of Sybok, that attitude of you need your pain is actually a very religious attitude. Like, that's deeply rooted in Christian guilt ethics that we are
that there is a
inherently-
nobility in suffering, that suffering
Yeah.
is necessary in order for us to attain Christ-like
That
status
we-
and make it to heaven.
that we deserve to suffer and are refined by suffering. So it's, that is one part of it that to me, I actually appreciated what Sybok was doing there, is that Sybok genuinely was trying to make a better world for his followers. I did not feel like Sybok was truly out for his own personal gain and glory. He really thought he was doing something great for the world. He was going to lead his followers to Vulcan heaven or what have you, and help a floating head space god bring peace and joy and an alleviation of suffering to the galaxy.
I'd agree with that, and except for Sybok's obsessive need for affection and for acceptance, and from Kirk and Spock specifically.
That makes sense. I mean, Spock you can certainly understand.
Because he asks Spock not once but twice to follow him, and Spock refuses both times, choosing to side with his found family as opposed to the birth family that, fucked off into Vatashka Tourland.
Yeah.
Ease.
Okay, I'm ready now.
The floor
Yes,
recognizes
let's
William
hear it.
Wofford. Although, okay, while we're still talking about these visions, I do actually want to touch on McCoy's backstory.
Oh yeah, because we learned something new about him.
Right. I actually, if Star Trek V has a redeeming sequence, it's this one. Because a lot of who Bones is makes more sense when you evaluate it in light of this failure. Because what Sybok shows us is that McCoy couldn't cure his father, who was dying of a disease and was in tremendous pain. And so what he does is he actually assists his father in dying.
Well, taking him off life support. Yeah.
He takes him off life support and the gentleman dies. And then very shortly thereafter, the cure is found. And so if you think about it and you look at Bones throughout even though I suspect this is very much retroactive, but it's so great because it makes so much sense, because Bones is obsessed with life and obsessed with clinging to life, even in situations where it doesn't make sense, with the sole exception of himself. Because in the episode, it's one of the longer titles, so give me a second. For the world is empty, for the world is hollow, and I have touched the sky. He encounters the Ferini, and he's actually suffering from xenopolycythemia, and he knows he's going to die. And weirdly, Bones makes his peace with that very quickly, which is bizarre, because this is a man who has fought for everyone across the board, except himself. And so flash forward to Star Trek V, and we're looking at Bones we're looking at his guilt for having made the choice that he made, for having failed his father, even though I think arguably he didn't, because there's no guarantee. Obviously, there's no guarantee that David McCoy would have managed to survive going forward. But it just makes so much sense. And it hurts me a little that we get this really great nugget of characterization in this movie.
I felt like Shatner didn't write that. I felt like that Lord help me.
I don't actually remember who the other screenwriter is. I don't think it's Harvey Bennett.
This didn't come out of Shatner's head.
No.
The three
Now
titty.
the ascot that McCoy had to wear for half the movie, that came out of Shatner's head.
Yeah, the 3 titty pussycat came out of his head. Like,
and look, honestly, no hate on the 3 titty pussycat stripper.
So, but
nope. Sex work is work, people. It's fine. I also, the other thing that comes out of the sequence that I really like is Spock's repudiation of his brother and basically looking at his brother saying, look, I know that this is what you think I am. And this is what you think has dominated my life, but I'm not there anymore.
Right. Spock then made peace with himself long ago.
And that, I think, is also a pretty phenomenal piece of characterization, because Spock gets the opportunity to look at Sybok, who has effectively everything that Spock has always wanted, like this Vulcan purity. And Spock basically says, I'm not that person. I know who I am. I know where I'm supposed to be. I know what I'm supposed to do. And I am not the same boy that you left so many years ago. And I love that. I love those moments. But all right. Eris had a philosophical point to make, and then we're going to go to William.
Well, I think we kind of covered the first of my 2 philosophical points on this. When that was the idea of Sybok truly striving for a better world. And and again, I again emphasize that this doesn't really come together in any cohesive sense. I just thought that it was really interesting that Kirk's big bravo tough guy moment of I need my pain, it's what makes me human, which is kind of a theme we see echoed in other Star Trek series as well, is actually a deeply religious, has a deep religious origin. That it's suffering and struggle that defines us, and that has gone out beyond religion now too. That's a central mantra of Western civilization and of capitalism in particular at this point in time. But personally, it's something I am still working on deprogramming myself from. So a lot of what Sybok was going for spoke to me personally here, in that he was going to be wish budget space Jesus, and that he was going to take on everybody's suffering in order to help lead them into paradise. And then it gets really interesting because they get there, and it turns out that you see the 19th and 20th century human reevaluation of the Semitic deity, the Semitic God figure, played out very, very quickly in real time there. This, hey, you call yourself the almighty arbiter of everything that's good, but you're actually kind of a dick. Like, why are you, if it's everything you're doing is about aggrandizing yourself instead of making things better for your creation. You can call yourself good, but you are less good and less empathetic than even many of us are in our daily lives. So what the hell gives you the right to call yourself a benevolent deity here?
I feel like this is very much, very much lampooning specifically an Old Testament version of God.
Oh, for sure. I mean, the thing, of course, we never see in the Old Testament is a Klingon bird of prey blowing up God with disruptor cannon.
I'm not going to lie. That would be so much more fun.
Yeah.
I would spend so much more time in church if that were the case.
And this is how I know I saw this movie when I was really, really young, because that scene stuck with me. And I think I spent like the next 3 or 4 months in kindergarten and pre-first. It was in pre-first, remixing this with Star Wars, I remember now that one of my favorite things to draw was a reimagination of the trench run from New Hope, except it was a whole fleet of starships shooting Satan.
Wow. There's so much to unpack there.
There is a lot to unpack.
That is a thing.
This is how Sunday School, Star Wars, and Final Frontier all came together to be mashed up in my 5-year-old, 6-year-old artistic expression.
I'm here for it.
Right? Because at the end of the day, Final Frontier basically comes out with this message that we don't need to look far afield for divinity. We need to look into ourselves, and we need to look to the relationships that we make, because one of the really core elements of this film, accidentally or not, I don't know, is the relationship between the triumvirate, right? Like Bones and Spock and Shatner / Kirk, because I really feel like this is less Kirk in this movie and more Shatner.
Oh, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
For a lot of reasons. But I think there's something really beautiful about that we can find, this meaning in the relationships that we form, and that we don't have to look so far afield. And I think that's actually where Sybok goes a little bit astray, because while Sybok is trying to take away pain, I think the problem is that he doesn't quite understand the people that he's interacting with. He offers. So I like your concept, your idea here of, being refined by struggle, by pain, by struggle, as being, religiously motivated. But I think it's a little more nuanced than that, because what I think what's actually happening is Kirk is saying, you can't take that part of me and do something else with it. Because in a lot of real ways, the things that we endure, the bad things, shape us as much as the good things do.
Oh, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a point I have heard echoed when people philosophize about end times and the nature of a heaven, if it were to exist, is that
I feel a little uncomfortable that I'm echoing those sentiments, honestly, but okay, keep going.
If it was, and something I kind of see brought up is that if you took away all of our suffering, I mean, we might be better off without suffering and pain, but would we still recognize ourselves as ourselves, or even as human?
And I have to say, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. This has been probably the worst year of my life, period. But what's been really interesting about it, and this is kind of what resonates for me in this film, but what is that as a result of this, I have been in this process of rediscovering, I guess, my own agency, and my own confidence within myself, because of what I'm doing, because of what I've been going through, and because of the whole background. I have been forced to basically say, yeah, no, I'm not gonna endure this anymore. And I don't think I would have, if things had been easier, if this hadn't happened, I don't think I would have done that. And I think it's been a remarkably instructive experience in a way. Still sucks monkey dick, not gonna lie.
Yeah. I mean, and
this is not vague booking, by the way. This is literally just talking about the experience of suffering.
And sort of my response to that is that an accommodation and making a best of the shitty hand you were dealt with? Would you choose, if you could choose between becoming who you are right now through that struggle, or never having to go through that kind of struggle and being someone different who had not experienced that hurt.
Basically,
Which
red
path
pill or
would
blue
you
pill.
take? Yeah. Is it sort of an ignorance to bliss type thing? Would it be better?
You know, but like,
would we be
but
objectively
again, like,
happier?
but
Would we
like,
be
I mean, but
objectively happier if we did not have these experiences that we think of as these negative experiences that we think of as creating us as humans?
yeah, but the problem is that like asking that question is kind of disingenuous because there's never going to be a situation where suffering doesn't exist. And Star Trek tells us this over and over and over again, right? Like there's always going to be something that's complicated, something that's difficult, something that we have to endure, and something we have to go through. And you know, while certain individuals like rely on faith, right? Like, I mean, there's literally an entire like the book of Job in the, you know, in the Christian mythos deals with this. And ultimately the response from God in that book is really crappy. It's literally like, I am the God of the whirlwind. Don't ask me questions.
Yeah. And people who one of the very interesting moments of my conservative evangelical college years was when the instructor in the course I took on Job kind of stood up there and looked out at the class and said, you know, I know the lessons that you've been told your entire life to take away from this book about enduring in, you know, in the name of God and faith and everything, but this is actually really a kind of crap answer. God does not give Job a good answer. God
He doesn't, and God literally embarked on this whole thing because he made a bet with Satan.
Yeah.
I mean, Job, and I think Job is really like kind of this crux issue of like where faith breaks down in certain situations. But going back to your point, right, asking me if ignorance is bliss. You know, in a weird way, I would say that I'm kind of grateful for this shit show.
Okay.
It forced me to make choices that I might not otherwise have made, and it's forcing me to stand on my own 2 feet in a way that I might not have done otherwise. And in some ways, going through this process of suffering has given me back pieces of myself. Or perhaps not, I shouldn't phrase it that way. It has forced me to rediscover pieces of myself. And I happen to think that's particularly valuable, at least for myself as a person. The problem with Cybok is that Cybok's not really offering you... Cybok doesn't offer you a solution, right? Cybok offers you the opportunity to talk about it, which I think is a much more interesting concept. And I really, really wish the film had gone further into it, because that would have been a really great opportunity to talk about the necessity of therapy and mental health as concepts within the Star Trek universe and our own situations.
No, I mean, Cybok really does kind of... The impression, at least I got from the movie, is that he was using Vulcan mind magic, whatever, to take away his followers' perception of their own suffering, which was...
And if that were true...
good is taking it away for all intents and purposes.
But if that were true, then McCoy and Spock both would have surrendered their pain. And while I think there was something very cathartic for Bones about being able to talk about it, ultimately he chooses not to follow Cybok.
Well, and that I think is a testimony to the strength of the friendship and the triumvirate. I mean, Spock never even felt like he drank the Kool-Aid completely there. McCoy definitely took a big sip of it, but then spat it back out because of his relationship with Kirk and Spock. Okay, I've seen Will trying to bump in on us here.
All right, yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Mea culpa.
All right, I got 11 minutes left. But it was actually a very good conversation. So I'm gonna piggyback on all of it. Okay. So I actually loved the film. I loved it since I was a child, and I love it today.
Okay.
The reason
That
I
is the
love it,
thing.
it's a thing. That's the thing. That's why I patiently waited and waited and waited, because it's like, I'm gonna let them do their thing because I know what I'm gonna say. Marie has the mouse over my face and she can boot me out at any minute.
No.
Okay,
That is a dick move, and I'm not going to do that.
Okay, right.
Unlike other people named
I know,
William.
right? I know, right? So, the reason I loved it was because the movie was terrible. That's why I loved it.
I'm gonna need you to flesh that shit out now.
I'm the type of movie watcher where if a movie is genuinely bad, and I mean terrible in every single way, I will enjoy it because I don't expect anything from it. And so to me, it's like watching The Expendables. It's like, okay, it's just there. The reason why I love the reason it's not one of my most loved films is not. But to me, it ranks number one in being the most fun. Because that's literally what Kirk is. He's about doing stupid shit for the fun of it. He literally died saying, well, not oh my, that was George. He literally stole George's line. But like he died saying he said sounds like fun in Generations. So that's all.
I think he dies saying like
he dies saying, "Oh my." Well, he dies saying, "Oh my," but before that, all that he says sounds like fun, you know. So it's like that's who Kirk is. So it kind of sticks to who Kirk is. So I was like, okay, cool. B, it's like it in no way I can surmise that this film in no way touches the rest of the canon for the other Trek films, which I love because it's such a terrible film. But I think, as stupid as Shatner can be and inappropriate at times, he knows not to connect this to the overall arc of the TOS films. The overall arc is connects the Wrath of Khan to Search for Spock to lightly the whale movie and jumps over number 5 into number 6. So really, you could take out the motion picture and Final Frontier, and you have a very strong story arc.
Are you giving Shatner credit for that, or is that just something that everyone else involved?
I'm not entirely. I'm not sure I buy that. And I'll talk about it in a minute. But go.
So it's like it's the reason this movie is. I never said this movie was good because it's not. It's not. It's a lump of shit. So, but that's why I love it, because I can roast the film and not get my feelings hurt because it in no way touches the arc of the TOS movies. Because the arc of the movies is Kirk went and Kirk is we kind of learned this in Strange New Worlds. Kirk is the only one that will have the balls to go and bring Spock back to life. That's just that. There's that. Okay, that's something Christopher Pike won't do. That's the difference. Because Spock dies in every timeline. He just does. But Kirk is the only one that takes the time to listen to Sarek and do what he needs to do, which brings up Star Trek 3. And because of that, it cost him his son and his hatred for and his expanding hatred for Klingons, which goes all the way to Star Trek 6. So it connects all of it. So if you take out motion picture and Final Frontier, you have a very strong arc. Motion picture and Final Frontier ain't got shit to do with the art. They're just there.
I think they don't have shit to do with Kirk's arc, but I think they have everything to do with Spock's arc.
Probably. Well, okay. As far as like brothers
so motion picture is Spock's decision to reject the Kolinar,
right?
Because what he wants to do is he's intimately attached to this entire Starfleet endeavor of going out and encountering the new. And in this case, in that particular case, it's V'ger. Star Trek 2 is obviously his sacrifice for the greater good. Star Trek 3 is his return to life. Star Trek 4 is Spock trying to reconnect with himself. And one of the things that happens in Star Trek 4 is during the testing sequence, his mother actually programs the computer to ask him how he feels. And Spock doesn't have an answer. Star Trek 5 is where Spock has an answer.
Right, where he says, I feel fine.
No,
that's at the end of 4. That's at
the end of 4.
He says
what Star Trek 5 is that Star Trek 5 is Spock finally putting to bed this overarching question about where he fits.
Right.
And the answer is fundamentally that he fits in this kind of found family situation with the Enterprise crew and specifically the Triumvirate. And then we move into Star Trek 6, which is asking big, like, larger questions about like peace and how we interact with other species that are very, very different and have different ideas. And Spock is uniquely suited to negotiate that, which is something that gets obviously capitalized upon in TNG with Unification 1 and 2.
So are you defending Star Trek 5 now?
I am not, but I am saying it makes sense. I don't think this was Shatner's fault. No, I think somebody else was paying attention.
Well, that's what I was saying. I feel like someone else had an insurance claim on this film.
I mean, I'm literally also not going to defend Star Trek 3, but I'm also not going to say that it's not canon either.
Well, I mean,
because Star Trek 3 is heinous.
I'll defend Star Trek 3. I will. I really will. I will. Dude. I'll do it.
It has lava monsters and Christopher Lloyd chewing scenery like he's a wood chipper.
I literally just saw a whole show where the premise was the whole balance of the galaxy was balanced on the back of a giant koala. I think I can take Star Trek 3.
I don't even know how to argue. That's Lower Decks.
Lower Decks.
Oh, okay.
That's Lower Decks.
So to me, it's like okay, because all right. As far as Spock's story arc, I concur. Yes, absolutely. I think
I don't really like again with Spock's story arc. I don't think you can chuck Star Trek 5 as much as I would like to.
I mean, I'm saying I feel like if now Strange New Worlds definitely solidified it now, but I feel like if you took away,
I gotta say, I feel like the Strange New Worlds Sybok is so much more together than Star Trek 5's Sybok.
We just saw his backside.
I know, but still. But still.
It's gonna be so much more together,
right? So, and the other thing is, I kind of felt bad for Sybok because I agree with Eris. He wasn't trying to be malicious. He did have a savior complex that needs to be checked, and he was a narcissist. But I don't think he was a bad person. I think the alien on that planet found someone across the galaxy that was like him, that wanted to do something that obviously not in a physical sense, but had this savior-esque, I'm godlike type this. And so he's like, Sybok, because in a way it reminded me of Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness, and it reminded me of Shang-Chi. These godlike omnipotent things using people to essentially control them and get what they want, because pretty much this movie's about an armist who's trying to use a ship to get off a planet. That's what the movie's about. That's literally what it's about. It's about an XQ or an armist or whatever, and just like that actually. So she'll be back, but yeah. So
Rachel's like, I'm done.
Yeah. So she's back. Okay, she's back. Hold on. Here we go. Yep. My bad. Okay. so I
really like your new look, Rachel.
Yeah, it's fantastic, and I have no idea what's wrong with it.
Yeah. So this is the last thing I'll say about it. The reason why it will forever be a love, but not the love, a love of mine, and the most fun film is because I will never forget how cool that scene was when that torpedo almost hit the Enterprise, and Chekhov said, "Warp speed now, Gregor." I was dead. I was like,
like special effects that make Flash Gordon special effects look good compared to this shit.
You got to think about it. A 10-year-old was watching this. It's cool to a 10-year-old. Like
apparently, it inspired an entire artistic genre with me. So I suppose I can't argue with that.
Right. So I was here for all of it, and then so I remember, but I noticed the film was bad. I wasn't stupid back then. Then this is it. I swear. I noticed the film was bad when I asked my mom. I said, "Mom, since when do Klingons have a Spanish accent?" Now I've already forgiven.
Really? Like, I mean, you got past the fact that Spock nerve pinched a horse?
No, I mean he mind melded with he mind melded with a machine in the original series. I'm pretty sure he can mind.
I mean, he mind melded with a rock too, so like that's fine.
I mean,
but the nerve pinching of the horse, I'm just like, wait a minute, what?
An animal,
like you nerve pinched a unicorn?
And an animal's an animal, you know. Like it's just all and that
is like Deus Ex Spock.
And then he didn't really pass out. He just gave him a hangover, you know, like.
I don't think we ever find out if the horse had a hangover, but I will say this: I do applaud General Corrid's taste in bourbon because he was clearly drinking out of Woodford Reserve bottle.
I actually did have a question about him. Is that the same Klingon or the same actor that played as the Chancellor before Gowron in the TNG era? Because they look the same.
I don't know. Right. I legitimately don't know.
Because I know Klingons live a long time. Well, not as long as Vulcans, but like. They live for like a long time, but I wasn't sure. But anyway, it was something I've always been wondering.
I don't know, but I do love the fact that General Cord eventually has to like pull up his big girl panties and like tell Axe Body Spray Klingon to like fuck off.
I liked him. I feel like he and Scotty would have a great drink together.
Dude, like of the three, I think General Cord is the best because like I don't care about the like Saint whatever, the Federation dude, and then obviously Romulan from Wish, and God, there's something about the way she delivered every single line that I'm just like, oh, high school drama, what?
She felt like she was about 10 years too early. Like she should have been in The Fifth Element or something like that.
She does. Like, you know what? Mm-hmm. Now I'm getting so many fifth. I'm that's 100%. I agree. Every yes. This movie looks like it should have been a spinoff in the Fifth Element series.
That would have worked a lot better.
It would have worked a lot better. A lot better.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of things in this movie would have worked much better if it wasn't trying to insert itself into Star Trek.
It's just not.
Well, I'm sorry, Marie. Go ahead.
No.
Okay, so that's what I was saying. It's like to me, it may have the name Star Trek on it, but to me, it's just there. Like you see what I'm saying? It's like okay, because like I was pissed at Discovery for changing the Klingons the way they did, because that's affecting the overall canon for the entire show. Whereas for this film, to Marie's point, the only benefits that we got from it was an additional peek into Spock's life.
And McCoy's.
And Catgirl strippers.
And Catgirl strippers.
And Catgirl strippers. But but at the end of the day, it's basically and of course this film probably would have been much better if it were a show. An episode. Like and not a whole 2-hour thing where you're probably where the half the cast probably don't even have lines. Like who like when I saw this scene right here, I guarantee this was not written. I guarantee it. I swear.
I loved it though. I loved it. I like the.
But that's
It's a blizzard.
see, that's what I'm talking about. It was so bad that it was good. They're just like none of them.
I think there
is
is a valid reading of this, which is not as like if you don't think of it as like a specific movie, but if you think about it as a story of people who are very close friends and kind of like bumbling through.
Expendables.
I think that's it, because this is one, and I think there's a few fandoms where there are films that I just view and I'm like, if I view this as a standalone, it's fun. I'm having fun. If I view this as part of a larger narrative and part of a larger fandom, then I'm disappointed. It's bad.
I'm gonna need that list, Rachel. I'm not gonna lie.
Okay,
all of
all
that,
right.
all of what Rachel just said, all of that. That's what. Yeah.
There's but rather fundamentally, I mean, it does come down on religion the way Trek does, which is that, you know, it's not something that you can. I don't think 5 completely eschews the concept of a divinity, but I think 5 definitely comes down on the like you're not going to experience it here, the kind of line. And I think 5 really comes down to like this interconnectivity that we all experience, and that the relationships we forge with other beings in this case really characterize what we can do and where we're going to go. And that I think is pretty textbook Star Trek, guys.
And I think it's very true.
And I think it's one of the most important parts of Star Trek. Really, just this reminder that it's not that we're not looking necessarily to God. And if you do look to God, that's perfectly fine, but you can't ignore like the lateral community that you create.
God is not going to save you like your friend with rocket boots will.
Exactly. Exactly. So if we take nothing else from Star Trek 5, it's that we all need some fucking rocket boots.
Mm-hmm.
Seriously.
And a marshmallow dispenser.
What the fuck was up with that thing?
That was clearly marketing,
no.
my dude. That was clearly marketing.
I thought the cutest thing of this movie was that Scotty and Uhura got into a relationship.
That was cute.
Mm-hmm.
They were like the cutest couple I mean, other than Troy and Riker. I feel like to this day, I thought they were the cutest thing, and I still do. Like they were so. Where is it? Here it is. Look at that. Like, and it kind of makes sense in a way, and they look so happy. Like, anyway, that's all. I thought it was nice.
All right, so we are now 7 minutes over. Which, you know, there was a lot of hate to squeeze into an hour, guys. So it's not really shocking we went over. But, you know, there are some legitimate positive elements to Star Trek 5. And I certainly hope that we have explored those. As always, like, comment, subscribe. Let us know what you'd like to see. Let us know what worked for you, what didn't. And we will see you on the next episode. Roll that beautiful bean footage.
Now, again, I'm going to say this again because we're near the end of our show. If you are our allies, we are not talking to you. We are not talking to you. This does not... Okay? We're not talking to you. Stop trying to take our and make it your goddamn business. It ain't got nothing to do with you. It ain't got nothing to do with you.
Our experience of grief independently.
Bruh.
Yes.
I love that they're in the comments.
So much is like I'm just reading the comments.
Yeah. They should have brought that child out. It's such a good point, Will. God, That's such a good point. And he's really thought about it too. You should be here. William, get over here.
I thought he had a girlfriend on Insta. It's been ages since I've mucked about, but
Okay, moving on. Let's move on.
we gotta move on.